Sharon Stone has been in some of the biggest movies of all time. Basic Instinct, Casino, Total Recall. But growing up working class in Pennsylvania, where she would get sent to the principal's office for teaching the other kids, becoming a movie star wasn't really on the radar. Her life has not been easy. She's been misunderstood, typecast, and after a brain hemorrhage that nearly killed her, had to relearn how to live in her own body again. But through every chapter of it, there was one man, a constant, with a hand in every major decision Sharon says she ever made. She is a Golden Globe and Emmy winner, an Oscar nominee, and a star of Euphoria, now streaming on HBO. And laughing as I introduce her, please welcome to the show, Sharon Stone.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
It's such a touching introduction, David. Oh my God, you had me in tears before you even said hi.
What brings the emotions with a simple introduction?
Because it's true. I'm Sharon Stone, and the person who believed in me was my dad, Joseph William Stone III. Oh my God.
Well, hold on.
Look at him. That's such a character picture. He always had a hat, that man. Look at him. My dad was quite fantastic guy, super empathetic, really. He was so sophisticated and tough and smart and cool.
Yet tender and vulnerable.
Yes. Well, if you really think about his personality, he really was, he had that touch of kings. He was such a gentleman. Like, he would never let someone be bullied. He would never let someone be racially profiled or profiled by their gender or their gender choices or nothing. He would never let a woman be sworn in front of or, you know, he was the guy who stood up when a woman entered the room. He pulled my mother's chair out for dinner every night. I mean, he was so chivalrous and yet so tough for a guy who was a laborer in a machine shop. And yet he was incredibly handsome, incredibly mannered. And when I see now, like, his, you know, confirmation photo in the silk suit with the silk hose to the knee and the Bible with the gold crucifix on it and the oval gilded frame, and I pieced together things about his life, and then I did the Finding Your Roots and found out all the things about him and our lives and me and my family history, and that his greatest grandparents were the actual king and queen of France. And oh my God, that he never even knew about himself, right? And yet he was still that kind of man that defended everybody's honor and did all of the things that one would do who was that man.
So then I want to take you to that end, to one of my favorite stories, which comes from the principal's office. So set the stage for me. You're about how old?
Oh, I was so little. I must have, at that point, been 6 or 7 tops.
You'd been taken for teaching your classmates cursive
writing
and multiplication. While the rest of the class was still in addition.
Yes.
Sharon's causing trouble trying to help them learn more faster.
I was bored.
Yes.
Right.
So the school...
I had opinions. I had thoughts.
And the school thought you were a behavioral problem. Yes. And so they...
Similar to today.
So they call you to the principal's office, and they also call your dad Joe.
From his job,
right,
which was an hour away, and he was working swing shift,
right,
which is first shift, then second shift, then third shift, week after week, which is just beats the hell out of a person, right? So my dad was not charmed by this.
Right. So he takes the day off.
Takes a day off
to go to this meeting.
To go to elementary school. I'm called in. I'm sitting in the back of the office. He's up by the principal's desk.
Okay.
And the principal starts up. Sharon will not stay with the rest of the class. My dad, please explain. She's writing cursive when we're printing. She's doing multiplication when we're adding and subtracting. And what's worse, she's teaching 2 other girls to do the same. This is incredibly disruptive, and it needs to stop.
To which Mr. Joe, somewhat quickly, immediately, or after a long pause, says what?
He thinks about it for a minute, and he turns around and says, Sharon, is this true? I say, yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. He says to me, come here. I say, what? So I don't want to come here. He says, come here. I say, yes, sir. I walk up to him and he picks me up and puts me on his lap. I think, okay. And he says to me, this is true. You have done all these things that Mr. whatever the hell his name was said. Yes, sir, I did. All righty. He turns to him, whatever his name was. He says, here's what's going to happen. It's not going to stop. She's going to keep right on doing it. Are we all clear? Are we clear? You're not going to stop. We're going for ice cream. Do not call me away from my job again for this kind of shenanigans. I mean, like, he was just like, I'd had it. You know what I mean? He was like, this, he thought, was like just absurd. He picked me up, took me out for ice cream, and that was it. There wasn't even a further discussion at ice cream or at home.
Does the memory sit in your mind as a hallmark example of when you first started to see him believe in you in a way?
Well, he was
grand.
Very tough with me. You know, he wouldn't allow me to be less than my best. If I tried to be less than my best to fit in, I was reprimanded. He really would explain to me that this way that I would sometimes fold myself in to get boys to like me or to try to be included. He would be like, you're just trying to get them to like you, knock it off. And he would like really be tough. And it's not a popularity contest.
In many ways, he was a girl dad before we had a phrase for it.